It's crazy. Almost 70% of sales leaders say that finding great talent is like their biggest headache.
Yeah, building a top-notch sales team, it's like the lifeblood of any business.
Yeah.
Totally. But how do we really know if all our recruitment efforts are actually hitting the mark? Especially when it comes to sales. I mean, it's got to be measurable, right?
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to dig into today, taking some cues from the sales experts. They're like the recruitment gurus over in London.
I've heard good things. So
Yeah.
what's their take on all this?
Well, their blog post really breaks down the two main ways to approach recruitment. You got headhunting, that's for super specialized roles, and then there's traditional recruitment for more, broader needs.
Okay, so it's like picking the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Headhunting is like you're on the hunt for that one elusive candidate, like you know exactly what you need, that specific niche experience.
Right, like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
And the thing is, with headhunting, success isn't just about filling that empty spot. It's about how well that new person meshes with the role, how they contribute to the team. Are they meeting targets, exceeding them even?
So it's not just checking boxes. They got to bring something new to the table.
Yeah, fresh insights. That's what you're looking for. Now, on the flip side, traditional recruitment, casting a wider net, it comes with its own set of things to think about.
Like what?
Well, the sales experts, they really emphasize looking at the whole picture. Are you pulling in a diverse group of talent? Are you getting a ton of good applications?
Makes sense. You want a team that's got it all and reflects the company's values too.
You got it. And here's where the sales experts drop a major point. This applies to both approaches. Retention. They say high turnover, especially in sales, it's a big red flag. You got to figure out why people are heading for the door.
Makes you think, is it the job itself, the company culture, or maybe just a bad fit from the start?
Right, and think about the impact. High turnover, it messes with the team's energy, productivity takes a hit, you're constantly training new people, not to mention the cost.
Oof. Yeah, it's like a revolving door.
Yeah.
So ideally, you want someone who feels like they found the right spot, like they fit in,
Absolutely, like a puzzle piece. They should be excited to contribute, grow with the company. And speaking of finding the right fit, the sales experts really highlight how helpful agencies can be, especially for nailing sales recruitment.
Yeah, sometimes you need that outside expert, especially if you're slammed or don't have the resources.
For sure. But here's the thing. The sales experts caution against just handing over the reins. You got to measure how effective an agency is, and they break it down to two things: speed and efficiency. And this is key, the depth of match.
Okay, so yeah, time is money. You need someone who can find good candidates fast, but they also got to get your needs, your company culture, like what really spells success for you.
It can't just be about matching keywords on a resume, right?
Yeah.
You need to know if their personality, their work style, their goals even mesh with yours.
It's a partnership. You got to lay out your vision and trust that they're not just finding anyone, they're finding the right someone.
Exactly. It's not just about skills, it's about finding someone who vibes with your company,
Yeah.
culturally.
Right, like they're not just qualified, they're a good fit.
Totally. And speaking of communication, the sales experts bring up a great point about feedback. It goes both ways.
Oh, for sure.
The agency, they should be giving you insights about the market, what salaries look like, maybe even point out potential snags they see in the candidate pool.
Yeah, like keeping you in the loop, letting you know what's up.
Exactly. It's about being plugged into the industry, and using that knowledge to tweak your game plan.
Love that. So far, we've covered the two main ways to go about recruitment: how important retention is if you want to measure success, how your recruitment should match your business goals, and of course, the power of that cultural fit.
And get this, the sales experts, they're not all about just looking at the numbers. They're saying you got to find the balance between that hard data and, your gut feeling.
Because sometimes you just know, right? They might not tick every box, but there's that spark, that drive. You just think, this person's going to be a star.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that X factor, that feeling that they'll not only do well, but truly thrive in your company.
Okay, so before we jump into the next part of our deep dive, let's think about this. What are your own signs of a successful sales hire? Beyond the metrics, beyond the qualifications, what really makes the difference for you?
When it comes to sales roles, specifically the sales experts, they bring up this really interesting point about trying to predict someone's future performance.
Yeah, because you're not just looking at what they've done before, you're trying to figure out how they'll do in a crazy, ever-changing world.
Exactly like you said, crazy. It's like, can you predict the stock market?
Yeah.
You need someone who can roll with the punches, think on their feet, stay ahead of the game.
Totally. And that's where the sales experts say, You got to look beyond just the numbers on a resume. They really highlight the soft skills, the people skills that can make or break a salesperson.
Totally. Those interpersonal skills are gold. Communication, persuasion, resilience. The ability to build relationships, handle those tough objections. That's what drives sales success. But they're not always easy to quantify.
No, they're not. It's not like you
That-
can just count up how many objections they've overcome or something.
Yeah.
And that's where the sales experts suggest getting a little creative with your interviews.
Oh, yeah, like what are they thinking?
Well, they recommend using things like role playing or simulations, see how a candidate handles real world sales situations.
Love that. Because it's one thing to talk about your sales skills, it's a whole other thing to actually show them in action.
Right. You get to see their salesmanship, their problem solving skills, how they think under pressure.
It's not just hypothetical anymore. You're seeing them in the hot seat. And another thing the sales experts really emphasize is knowing what your specific sales needs are. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
No, definitely not. So what do they recommend?
They're all about defining your ideal sales profile. Like, what does success actually look like in your company? What are the must-have skills, experience, personality traits that fit your target market and your overall sales strategy?
It's like you're creating a blueprint for the perfect salesperson.
Exactly. And if you don't do that, you're going to waste a lot of time and energy interviewing people who just aren't the right fit. And the sales experts take it a step further. They talk about aligning your recruitment strategy with your big picture business objectives.
Yo, interesting. So it's not just about finding salespeople. It's about finding the right salespeople for where you want your business to go.
Exactly. Like if your focus is on rapid growth, you might prioritize candidates who have a proven track record of crushing targets and closing deals.
But if you're building a business that's all about long-term customer relationships, you probably look for people with strong relationship building skills and a more consultative approach.
Right. It all comes back to what are your goals and are your recruitment efforts helping you reach those goals?
Makes total sense. And and another thing the sales experts talk about that I think is super important is cultural fit.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about finding someone who can sell. It's about finding someone who gets your company values, fits in with your team, and can actually thrive in your work environment.
Because you could have the best salesperson in the world, but if they don't mesh with your team or your culture, it's going to be a nightmare.
Right. It's like a square peg in a round hole. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
A strong cultural fit, it leads to happier employees, better productivity, and ultimately less turnover, which, as we talked about before, is a huge indicator of recruitment success.
Totally.
Yeah.
When people feel like they belong, they're going to be more engaged, more motivated, and more dedicated to seeing the company succeed.
Absolutely. And before we move on to our final takeaway from the sales experts, I think it's good to pause and really think about what we've covered so far.
We've talked about the differences between headhunting and traditional recruitment, the importance of retention, how your recruitment strategy needs to match your business goals, and of course, that all-important cultural fit.
It's a lot to digest, but it's all super valuable for anyone who's involved in building a high-performing sales team.
Whether you're a sales leader, a hiring manager, or an executive, these are things you need to be thinking about.
And what I think is so cool is how the sales experts tie all these ideas together.
Hmm.
They're not just talking about filling positions, they're pushing for a smarter, more thoughtful, and ultimately more successful way to build a sales team that gets results.
It's like they're saying recruitment isn't just a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. And speaking of ongoing processes, the final takeaway we're going to dig into is this idea that measuring recruitment success doesn't end when someone signs the offer letter. You got to track how they're doing over time and use that data to improve your whole approach.
Yeah, it's like keeping tabs on your sales engine, making sure everything's running smoothly. Are they bringing in the money? Are they closing deals like pros? Are the customers happy?
Right. And what I find really cool is that the sales experts, they don't just focus on those typical sales numbers.
Oh, what else do they look at?
They say, look at things like how long it takes for a new hire to hit the ground running, the ramp up time, or even how they impact the team's vibe, the overall morale.
Yeah, it's not just about individual stats. It's how they contribute to the whole team.
Exactly. And it's not just about spotting where things could be better. It's about recognizing when things are going great, celebrating those wins, big or small. The sales experts are big on that, keeping the energy up.
It's about building that culture where everyone's motivated. They're pumped about hitting those targets.
Totally. So as we wrap up this deep dive into measuring sales recruitment success, I think the sales experts have really given us a framework that's, practical and insightful. They challenge us to think long term, not just about filling a role today.
Right. It's about making those recruitment choices that will pay off down the line.
From figuring out when to headhunt versus going traditional, understanding why retention is so crucial, making sure everything's in line with your business goals, and of course, nailing that cultural fit.
It's been a great deep dive. Lots to think about for any sales leader, any hiring manager out there who's really serious about building a killer sales team.
Definitely. And I think one of the most valuable takeaways from the sales experts, it's that idea of reflecting on what success really means for your specific company. Those unique qualities that make a difference for you.
So if you're out there listening and you want to step up your recruitment game, I can't recommend the Sales Experts enough. Their blog is packed with gold. They've got tons of resources to help you build that sales team that just crushes it.
A sales team that brings in the revenue, makes those customers happy, and contributes to your company's long-term success.
At the end of the day, finding the right sales talent, it's an investment that can really make or break your business.
Until next time, good luck with your recruitment.